Dance with me, move your feet and feel it in the space between. You gotta give yourself a moment, let your body be. Downtown we let it go, sunset high and our bodies low, blood rush in the haze.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I am back with another video, and this time I'm gonna be talking about nail drills and the actual like different bits. And I wanted to be like really detailed, which is why I waited so long to actually do this video. I know a lot of people have been asking for it, but I wanted to, you know, give you all the answers that you need. So I'm gonna be using this drill by McCart that I recently got, and it is a cordless one. So I do have a video on it. If you haven't checked it out, I'll leave it down in the description. But so where do I want to start, because it's just so much. So basically for me, a drill is my best friend because it helps me with speed. It helps me smooth out the nails. Now, not saying that to be a nail tech you need a drill, because there's plenty of people out there that use no drill and they can still do a set really fast, and they can still do it perfectly, really smooth, you know. So you don't necessarily need a drill. But for me, I do clients back to back to back, so it helps with the speed, and then it helps with, like, what was it? When I first started doing nails, I was using just a hand file, and y'all, that is so painful for your hand. Like, you're literally just sitting there filing, and all that strength just hurts your arm. So with this drill, it literally comes with like two pieces. You're gonna have the actual, what is this, the house box, and then you're gonna have a hand piece. And then with this hand piece, this is where you put your drill bits on. So I'm just gonna use this sanding band for example. With this one, you actually have to twist this, put your sanding band in there. Oh, sorry, it was already open. So I'm gonna twist it, and as you can see, it kind of goes up. See, that's open, that's closed, open, closed, and that little hole actually opens up. So it's closed right now, which is small, and then when I open it, it becomes bigger. So then I just slide this drill bit in there and then close it. So for my actual sanding band, I always make sure that I don't have it on a really fast speed, because we're literally just removing the shine from the natural nail. So what you want to do is make sure that you kind of listen to your the way it's moving, and that's usually how I know how fast or how slow to do it. I kind of just listen to it, because if I was to just turn it on and speed it up, like, I know for a fact that if I was to put this on somebody's nails, it will burn the hell out of their hand or their finger. So I'm gonna go ahead and slow it down. So this is probably about the speed that I would use it at. And I know that not all drills have a display screen, but this is at F11, and then the fastest speed is F30. So you do not want to use it really fast. Again, I use it at a really slow speed, because we're literally just using it to remove that shine from the natural nail. And when you're using this to remove the shine, you literally just want to go from like one side of the cuticle area. Y'all have a freaking hangnail. So you go from one side of the cuticle area, work your way around, and just file the whole nail. Again, when you're doing this, you're not filing because you want to thin out their nail. You literally just want to remove that shiny layer. As you guys know, our body produces all type of oils, and if you was to just do a set over your shiny nails, they would come off the next day. So you have to go in and remove the shine from your natural nails. And then the actual little sanding band, you take that one off after each client. These are not reusable. You throw them away after each client. I'm telling you, you throw it out after each client. You don't want to give your client any type of infection. You don't want to spread germs. Make sure that you replace it after each client. And usually what I do is I leave it on there, and then when my other client comes in, that's when I take it off, so they can see me actually, you know, replacing it after each client. So again, this is the sanding band. When you're doing a full set, this is the first one that you will use. So I'm going to go ahead and take that one off. And then I also use a quartz drill bit. Now the quartz drill bit is actually to I use it to remove the gel polish from acrylic nails. As you guys know, if you were to soak the gel polish off the acrylic nails, you'll be soaking off the actual acrylic as well. So if you're removing gel polish from natural nails, you can soak it off. But if you're removing it from acrylic nails, you want to file it off, because you will like soak off that the acrylic. So I mean, you could use a medium drill bit, a fine drill bit to remove that gel, but it's gonna take forever. So I always use this, if it will focus. But this is a safety quartz drill bit. As you can see, it has a C at the top. I don't know if you can see it. You can't see it, but it has a C at the top, which means it's quartz. And then I'll show you the difference between a safety drill bit and a regular drill bit. So see how that one has that extra little piece at the top? So if I was to file somebody's nail with this, you will get that extra space at the top, meaning that you're not going to be able to cut them as easily, just because you have that extra, I don't even know how to call it, that extra space at the top. And since it is a quartz drill bit, I promise you, you will cut somebody with this. So make sure that if you're using a quartz drill bit, that you get a safety one like this with a rounded top. And then this one is a fine drill bit. It has the F at the top. You can't see it, but it has the F at the top. And this one is really fine. And this is used whenever after you apply your acrylic, you go back and file the acrylic with your fine drill bit. And this one, like the little grits on it are so fine that it literally just like smooths out the acrylic. It's not going to remove a lot of product like this one would, but it's just going to smooth it out. And that is just so your acrylic is not lumpy. Now, if you are a beginner and you're still not to the point where you're having, or where you have a flawless, smooth application, you will have to do a little bit more filing, but you can use this fine drill bit. And then another thing I wanted to mention is that you will also use this fine drill bit to go around the cuticle area. As you guys know, the most important thing, so as you guys know, I always say the most important thing that you can do to prevent lifting is going around that cuticle area to make sure that it's nice and sealed. And for that, I also use my fine drill bit. The other ones that I have are these, which I don't use, but these are more for like cuticle work. So if you wanted to remove some stuff from around their cuticle area, you would use this. And then I also have this little brush, which this one, I actually never used it, but for this one, it goes in the same way. You put it in there, lock it, and then this is actually to just remove dust from around their nails. You just turn it on and then just go around their cuticle area to remove any dust, and then that's pretty much it. So it's just to remove dust, and it doesn't hurt at all. Like, you don't want to just leave it on their nail for a really long time, because friction, you know, and all that stuff, and it'll cause their finger to burn. So again, this is just to remove the dust from their nails. If you want to slow it down a little bit, that's fine, but this just takes that dust from under their nails or the top of their nails, whatever. And it's just like a little, it's like a tiny nail brush. That's all it is. And then I also have some of the ceramic ones. And the only difference between the ceramic ones, which are the plastic looking ones, they're white. The only difference between those and like the actual metal ones is just the material. They do the same thing, it's just the different material. So for those, I have like the little bullet ones that look like this. And then I have a small cuticle one. I have another like bullet one, but it has a flat top, as you can see, that green one. And then I also have a fine safety drill bit. So again, if you are a beginner and you're still scared to get around that cuticle area with your regular fine drill bit, they do have a safety fine drill bit. But it's still sometimes a little bit hard to get really close to that cuticle to be able to seal it to prevent lifting, because as you can see, like, it's really like that's as close as I can get it to the cuticle area. But honestly, I feel like it's not gonna get, like, it's just not gonna seal your cuticle area really good. So like, if you want to start off by using this one, but most likely you will still get lifting, so just make sure you like work your way up to the actual fine drill bit, which is this one. And then another thing is they have either the small barrels or the large barrel. So this is actually a small barrel, and then this is a large barrel. So as you can see, and the barrel is actually like this thing. So as you can see, that one's way smaller than that one. So I always use the large barrel. That's just my preference. You might like the small one, somebody might like the big one. I just prefer the big ones just because this is what I learned with. And that's the really probably one of the most important things. What you learn with is usually what you stick with. So same thing with like the brushes. I learned to do nails with a number 8. So as I, you know, started doing nails, I usually stuck to like an 8 or a 9. There's people that learn how to do nails with a number 16 brush, and that's just what they know, and that's just what they stuck to. So same thing with these. I like the big one. You might like the small one, just whatever you like, but they do the same thing. What else? And then I'm also going to be showing you like how to actually use them. And I guess I can show you here as well. So whenever I'm filing the acrylic, I do step 1, file underneath the nail, because a lot of the time once you're brushing the acrylic down towards the tip, you might get some acrylic underneath the actual nail tip. So you just gently file underneath the nail just to get any acrylic that's under there. You might not have to do this step. Just look at the nails. If you see a little dot of acrylic underneath the nail, just go ahead and do it. But you don't always have to do this one. So I'm gonna just turn this on to kind of, well, no, I don't have to turn it on. So I'm just gonna put it on here, and you hold your nail drill like it was, like if it's a pencil. So usually this is how I do it. Thumb, or my index finger and my thumb, and then my other 3 fingers underneath. And then, as you guys know, if you watch me when I'm doing nails, I always use like this pinky for stability. So that way, if I'm just doing it like this, I can easily just cut somebody. But if I'm holding their finger with my pinky, I get more stability. So you know, like it's harder for me to cut anybody because I have something to hold on to. So again, first thing is you file underneath the nail. Next, you file around the cuticle area. As always, I'll start from the right side, work my way over to the left side, and you just go back and forth until you're able to see where the cuticle is, where their natural nail is, and where the acrylic starts. That way you know that there is no acrylic on the actual skin, which means you won't get any lifting. And it will take practice to be able to do a full set with no lifting. I know it's really frustrating. I feel like we all go through the same stages. It's just a matter of practicing, repetition, and just doing it over and over and over and over again. Like, it's gonna get really frustrating to the point where you just want to give up, because I promise that I've been there. But all you need is to practice. And I probably couldn't say that enough. Just practice, practice, and practice, and you'll be there in no time. But again, you just follow around that cuticle area. And then number 3 is just follow the rest of the nail to just smooth it out. You do want to have her look at your nail from different angles. See if you have any bumps or lumps, because if you're just looking at a set of nails like this, you might not be able to see any lumps. But if you look at the nail from like this direction, or if you look at it from the other side, you will be able to see any little bumps that's there. So you want to go back and file some more. Excuse me. So again, with this one, you do 1, which is underneath the nail. That's 1, 2, and then 3, which is the rest of the nail. And then that's pretty much all the ones that I use. I use the sanding band, which is to remove the shine. I use the coarse drill bit, which is to remove gel polish from acrylics. And then I use my fine drill bit, which is to file the acrylic after we apply it, to smooth it out basically. So after this, I'm just going to give you a little bit more information as far as like the drill, you know, how to pick a drill, how to upkeep your drill. Alrighty, so after this, I know that was a lot of information, but I'm going to give you some more information as far as like how to actually pick your nail drill, how to clean your drill bits, how to actually use them again, and then just a couple other tips. And yeah, so just keep watching.
Alrighty, so we're going to start at the very beginning. So an electric file can be very safe when used by a trained technician and can provide many benefits besides speeding up the time spent on a service. So a lot of the time you will hear, isn't it bad to use a nail drill because you can damage somebody's nail? And the answer is no. If you're using it correctly, you will not damage somebody's nail. Now, if you're just using it recklessly, then yes, you will give somebody a ring of fire, or you might freaking, I don't know, just really mess up somebody's nail. So 4 other benefits besides speed would be being able to shape them more and more consistently. You'll be able to file in areas a hand file cannot, perform more precise maintenance procedures, as well as refine your work more easily. Now, I personally do not use an e-file to shape nails, but I know that there's plenty of people out there that do. Now, to file in areas a hand file cannot, that is very true, because I've said it before, I feel like with a hand file, I can't get really close to that cuticle area, which is why I use a drill. And then the other ones, basically, it just makes your work really easy to do because you're not having to put all that force into it. You just do it with the drill. And then after that would be choosing a drill. So the things that you need to know when you're wanting to buy a drill is as far as how much do you want to spend, as well as what style do you want. Do you just want one that you can have at your station? Do you want one that you can travel with that's cordless? You have to keep these things in mind. And like I said, how much are you willing to spend? Another thing that you have to take into consideration is the speed of a drill, and this is determined by RPMs, which is the revolution per minute. And this is probably one of the most important things, because you don't want to get a file or a drill that doesn't have enough power and it stops when you're working. So basically, RPMs is the number of times that the bit turns in a complete circle in 1 minute, and usually it's recommended that you get one that's about 25 to 30,000 RPMs. And along with RPMs, you have to consider how many torques the drill has, which is the power in the machine or its ability to keep turning when applying pressure during filing. I know before I made a video about how one of my drills, like every time I was filing, once I put too much pressure on it, it will stop rotating, which means that it was just not enough power for me. So again, I do recommend that you get something that's above 25,000 RPMs. It's kind of like a buzz. It can go fast without no kids on it, but once it have kids on it, it still has to have that power to be able to pull that weight. So it's the same thing, if that makes sense. It's the same thing. You don't you want it to go fast, but you also want it to have that power to be able to keep turning even when you're putting pressure on it. And once you have your nail drill, you have to take into consideration all the different type of bits. So they come in all different shapes and sizes and styles, such as diamond or carbon or synthetic or paper sanding bands, and then as well as arbor bands, which I don't know what those are, but anyways. And after you decide which ones you want to use, you have to pick the different materials, which would be a gold one. Do you want a silver natural nail bit? Do you want a sanding band? Do you want a diamond one, a carbide? It's all different type of materials. As you guys know, I only use the gold drill bits, which I use a coarse one, a fine one, a medium one, and a sanding band. So here I'm going to show you a couple of pictures of the different ones. So as you can see, they have the gold ones and the silver ones, which they all do the same thing. Well, those three do the same thing, but again, they have different materials. Okay, so here's a couple other drill bits, and they have the different names as well as a little description. So number one is a needle cuticle bit, and this is used around the cuticle area or underneath the nail bed or ingrown nails. Number two has a smooth top, so I call this one a safety drill bit, and this one is just to get around the cuticle area without cutting somebody. Especially if you are a beginner, I highly recommend that you get a safety drill bit. And then number three is the carbide nail drill bits, and these come in all different colors, or not colors, but they either come in silver or gold, and they come in different grits, either fine, medium, coarse, extra coarse. And then those are used to either remove polish, to remove bulk, or to just do general filing. As you guys know, I use my coarse drill bit to remove gel polish, and I use my fine drill bit to remove or sorry, not to remove, but to file the acrylic and to seal around that cuticle area. And all of these are the same ones that I showed you guys earlier that I have. So number 4 is just a cleaning brush, and that's just literally to remove dust from around your cuticle area. We have number 5, which is a flame ceramic cone, and this one is used to remove bulk, finish filing, remove polish, and general filing. So as you can see, they all do the same thing. Well, as far as like 5, 6, 7, number 3 and 2, they all do the same thing. And like I said, it's just different materials, but I use the gold ones and I have no issues with that. So if you are a beginner, I recommend that you just go ahead and get a safety one just to start practicing. You're going to need a fine drill bit, and that could either be the ceramic one, which is the white one, or a gold or silver. That doesn't matter. You'll need a coarse one to remove gel polish, and then you're also going to need a sanding band, which is to just remove the shine from the natural nail. And then as far as the little brush to remove dust, that's just optional. Everybody has their own ways to remove dust. So again, some of the drill bits are actually optional. Alrighty, so now I'm going to be showing you how I use my drill bits. So again, this one is my safety quartz drill bit, and again, I use this one to remove the gel polish from acrylic nails. I just file all over the nail, and this one is really coarse, so that means that you can easily cut somebody, and that's why I use the safety one, because it has that rounded top, which means that it's not going to be as easy to cut somebody. Alrighty, so up next we have a 180 sanding band. So for this one, we literally only use it to remove the shine from the natural nail. I know that there's people out there that use it to file the acrylic, but honestly it doesn't work for me. I've tried it before and my sanding bands literally pop off. So I only use them to remove the shine from the natural nail. Again, it is a 180, and you don't want to use anything above a 180 because it will be too coarse. And then after that, I use the fine drill bit, and this one I use at the very end after I apply my acrylic, and this one I use to just basically smooth out the acrylic. This one is not coarse at all. It's really fine, so it just smooths out the acrylic. Again, this is a fine drill bit. So again, as you've seen and as I said it a million times, I only use a coarse drill bit, a fine drill bit, and a sanding band. And then when I'm filing the acrylic, I do 3 steps, which is under the nail. That's number 1. Step 2 is filing around that cuticle area to seal the acrylic, and you literally just go back and forth until you're able to see where their cuticle is, where their natural nail is, and where the acrylic is. And then step 3 is to just file the rest of the nail to make sure that it's nice and smooth, and you do that with the belly of the drill bit. So again, number 1 is filing underneath the nail, 2 is filing around that cuticle area, and 3 is just filing the whole nail. Alrighty, so here are a couple of practice techniques. So number 1 is to sit up straight at your table with your feet flat on the floor. 2 is to hold your handpiece like a pencil for comfort and control. Number 3 is to place your forearm on the table to make sure that your hands are stable. And number 4 and 5 are really important when it comes to comfort. So number 5 is to use a firm, steady grip. Do not hold too tight, as your hands will start to cramp up, and trust me, that is very true. Number 5 is to balance your hand by using the pinky finger as the fulcrum finger. This occurs when you balance the tip of your pinky finger on the tip of the pinky finger on the other hand. And you will see me do that in a couple of my videos, and that is just for stability. And then another thing is making sure that you're using the correct speed when filing. So the recommended speed for surface work would be fast, and this would include whenever you are filing the acrylic after you apply it. Maintenance would be removing gel polish, and since I use a coarse drill bit, you want to make sure that you use it at a medium speed to make sure that you don't cut anybody. And cuticle work is when you're filing around the cuticle, so you do want to make sure that you're careful and you use your drill at a slow speed. And then one of the most important things is maintenance. Alrighty, so the 4 steps to making sure that you sanitize and disinfect your drill bits properly is number 1, to scrub the drill bits in soapy water, making sure that you get rid of all of the loose dust and particles. Number 2 is to actually put your drill bits into a jar with Barbicide. And Barbicide you can get at Sally's, you can buy it online, wherever. And you want to make sure that you follow the instructions on mixing it to make sure that you have the right ratio. And then number 3 on here is a little bit off topic, but for me number 3 would just to make sure that you take them out of the Barbicide and pat them dry. And then number 4 is to make sure that you keep your drill bits in a dry covered container to make sure that they don't get dirty again. And even if you want to keep maybe a couple of sets, and that way you don't have to do this after each client, but you do want to make sure that you disinfect all your tools before you use them on a client. But this is the end, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, first you have to make sure that you know what you want, whether it's a cordless drill, whether it's one that has a foot pedal. You have to know what you want. Second is to make sure that you know how much you're willing to spend, and then you have to make sure that it has the speed that you need. Again, I recommend a 25 to 30,000 RPMs. After that, you want to make sure that you get the right nail drill bits, and then you have to know how to actually use them so you don't damage somebody's nail. And then lastly is just making sure that you sanitize and disinfect your implements correctly. So I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at GetNail32, and I'll see you guys next time.